As you know from past shows, we've talked to some of his alleged victims. We've talked to some of the moderators in the forums and some of the insiders who've been involved here. And I need to tell you that we've got some new important information about this investigation that we'll talk about a little later in the show. We also have Mike Morse, who is probably no stranger to you by now, who's a lawyer based in Detroit who does a number of different types of cases. He's got a podcast now, and he and I have been collaborating on a couple things. We'll have more on that later. But first of all, tonight we have a very special guest, a woman from Ireland who joins us live. It is very late there, and I appreciate, Erica, you being with us tonight.
Thank you.
Erica worked in the different areas where these forums where Onision fans gathered. Tell me, Erica, how did you first become aware of Onision, and why were you attracted into this whole, what now appears to be kind of a creepy, grooming, disturbing world that developed all through fans of his in some ways?
Yeah, it's crazy. I was sent a link to one of his videos back in 2008. He only had around 15,000 subscribers at the time. He was a lot less obviously crazy. He was making videos about being a vegetarian. It spoke to me for whatever reason. And I saw that
so
he had
you related to his videos when you first started watching them.
Say again?
You related to his videos when you first started.
Yeah. So I was 17 or 18 when I first discovered him. So.
And what was it about the videos that appealed to you at the time?
I think it was just somebody having the same opinion that I had and being very probably militant about it would be the right word. It just spoke to me.
Did you find him charismatic?
I guess so, yeah. Charismatic.
And how did this following develop between you and Onision and I suppose at some point Kai?
I think the forum was a huge part of that because there was only a certain amount of his content that actually appealed to me in terms of his videos. So I signed up to the forum, and because he had quite a smaller following back then, it was a lot easier to talk to him if you wanted to. You know, he would take part in the forum as a normal member.
So you had, as a member of one of these forums or a couple of these forums, you had direct access to Greg Jackson Onision.
In a sense, yeah. You know, it seemed a lot closer than YouTube comments, let's say.
Right. And you had direct communication with him?
Yeah, I did, because within the first year of using the forum, I became one of his moderators. And from 2008 to 2014, I was a moderator, if not a head moderator for him. So there'd be plenty of times where I'd email him or anything.
What was your responsibility as a head moderator there?
Well, he had very little involvement. You know, once the forum became more popular, he had very, very little involvement. So I was there to enforce the rules that he had wanted to enforce there, some of which were quite wacky, which you may have heard of before, like even censoring the word meat. You can't talk about eating meat and stuff like that.
What were some of these rules? Take me inside this world. What were some of the rules in those days in the forums?
So they started off pretty basic, where it was like, you know, don't be like, no harassment, and, you know, the general, like, just be a good person rules. But then, you know, the more controversies that occurred with his opinion videos and the more like pushback he got, you know, he would kind of bring down these insane rules onto the forum to kind of show that he really lives by them. So, like, you know, he censored the word meat into shit. So anytime someone came along and just typed a post that happened to have meat into it, it would automatically turn the word into shit, and everybody was completely confused. Why? What
was going on with him at the time? Do you think he was just trying to get attention with this bizarre, erratic behavior?
Yeah.
Or do you think he was...
That's what it's always been, you know, like he pretends to act crazy, but it's always been because, you know, there's no other way people will be attracted to his videos, because he doesn't have anything, doesn't have any talent in regards of making funny videos or anything like that.
When did things start to bother you, start to alarm you in terms of what was going on in those forums?
You know, when I came across, so I was a moderator. I had access to, there was a chat on the main homepage. So there was a chat room as well as the forum, and I had access to those chat logs. So if there was anything ever reported, like someone was breaking the rules, I was able to look through the chat logs. And sometimes you come across.
You were essentially seeing the internal. You were essentially seeing the internal investigations here, what was going on, and people would do something appropriate.
Yeah. So I could see private chats as well as the public chat.
And what were some of the things that started to bother you?
The main thing I saw there that's left a lasting effect is I saw someone in a private chat with a 14-year-old, and it was, you know, she admitted to being 14. This wasn't a case of a mistaken age. The chat there, he was, you know, kind of love bombing her, kind of like how Greg does to his victims. You know, he was asking her for nude pictures, and she didn't want to give them.
So this was a known adult in the forum.
Yeah, from
a guy known to people, right?
Again?
And he was a known adult approaching someone who clearly was 14 years old and asking for nude photos.
And she understandably didn't want to send them. And I remember I actually came across the logs. It wasn't just in one instance, it was across days. So like, you know, let's say across 3 different days, he had been messaging her. And, you know, he was telling her, like, you need to trust me and all of this usual stuff. And I still remember the moment I saw her message in reply to him saying, I've sent them. So this was obviously
I've sent them.
Sorry?
I've sent them. The 14-year-old photos.
Yeah. And this wasn't on the site. They had obviously been in contact off the site, whatever way that was, I don't know. But that moment, like, I still remember the sinking feeling of thinking, you know, it's too late now. There's nothing I can do about that other than ban that predator.
What did you do?
Sorry?
What did you do?
Well, banned him. You know, I could have banned IPs at the time, but, you know, there's ways of getting around that. So banned his profile, banned the IPs associated with it, and that was it.
Did you ever report it to Greg Onision?
Not that instant. There was another time where a known sexual offender had come onto the website. I remember it caused a bit of drama because there was this man who he had made this video thanking someone called Greg, and he had all of a sudden showed up on the forum. And obviously, you know, we were thinking, so he was saying he was thanking Greg for supporting him. And we were thinking, why is this guy here? And why is he talking about Greg?
This was a known sex offender?
Yeah. So I can't remember his name, but he was a registered sex offender, and this was known about him.
And yet he was welcome on Greg's forum,
well,
Onision's forum.
He came along. He wasn't welcome in my eyes, so like I banned him immediately. But I wanted more information from Greg. Like, is this guy actually associated with you? Because I'm not okay with that. And I'll never forget. Like, I still have the email thread where I emailed Greg asking him, you know, who is this guy? And he was so uninterested in even answering me, which makes no sense to me, because if anyone had ever asked me what's my association with a registered sex offender, you bet your ass I'm going to be telling you, like, I have nothing to do with them.
What did that say to you about Gregory Jackson, Onision?
I don't have words for him. Honestly, I don't have words for him. I don't want to say insane, because insane leaves him off, but there's something seriously wrong with him. Seriously wrong with him.
Did this forum become a spot for predators to try to groom some of Onision's underage fans.
Yeah, it had to have been. You know, like, here was a guy that was making videos that were appealing to increasingly younger audiences. Obviously, his fan base, you know, are young teenagers, and a lot of them are females. Why wouldn't you? If you were looking for easy targets, why would you skip over that website?
But do you think Greg had a responsibility to police these forums or to do something about this activity, or was this just a natural result of this ungoverned, almost ungovernable format?
He had a responsibility. His name was on it, you know, and it was his website. And there was a time that I'd seen another chat where someone had admitted to watching child pornography in a private chat on the chat room.
Admitted watching child pornography in a private chat. Was it with somebody who was underage?
Yeah, they were talking to someone who was underage. Yeah. They admitted that, and obviously I banned him straight away, but I emailed Greg and I said, you know, there has to be something, like, there has to be a way we can take this further. And again, uninterested, you know. And I remember, because it's not my jurisdiction, obviously I'm in Ireland, I remember looking up like resources for the FBI and sending them on to Greg, like, is there a way we can use this online reporting? And he was like, all we have is an IP, what can we do? Uninterested.
Uninterested. How many times do you figure you went to Greg to say, look, there's a problem on this forum. There are predators, sex offenders, groomers.
To be honest, those times that I'd gone to him, that was all. You know, he didn't care. He didn't care. But also, it's so crazy because I think it was so normalized on the forum that it was almost, you know, it takes a while to step out of it and realize how messed up it is.
Did this forum become a haven for predators, sex offenders, and adults who wanted to groom children?
Quite easily, yeah. And to be honest, I probably didn't know half of it. There's probably a lot more stories there that I was not aware of at all.
I guess that begs the question, if you saw all this, what was going on that you didn't see?
Yeah, exactly. I fear to know.
Was there one incident, one thing you saw that made you say, I can't do this anymore, I got to get out of here, it's out of control?
There wasn't like just one in particular, but, you know, there was a culmination of, you know, his crazy videos. Like, the majority of the user base, the majority of the regular user base on his forum didn't even like him. It was a place to hang out. So there was genuine friendships made there among the chaos. But like, it's left a lasting effect. Like, I have a 7-year-old son and I won't upload video or pictures of him, even on my personal Facebook, purely due to that forum.
This had an impact on you, this experience?
Say again, sorry?
This experience had an impact on you?
Yeah. And, you know, seeing so much of the aftermath now, it's, you know, I feel in part guilty that there wasn't more that I could have done. You know, who knows how much the forum contributed to his access to young females or anybody. And it's honestly, it's stunning to have been involved in that and seeing it all before you now. It's insane.
What shocks you most about what we now know about Onision?
Sarah's story just, it's crazy, you know. I don't even know what to say about it. And hearing Shiloh speak up about what actually went on, because I would have been on the forums like regularly while Greg's life was unfolding, and it's just crazy to see the real truth of it, not his version.
Now, you watched this as it was unfolding. You were there as he was going on about Shiloh and blaming Shiloh. I think everybody out there in the audience knows who Shiloh is, a pop star out of Canada who got involved in a relationship with Greg. And by all accounts, I just spoke with her last night just to catch up on a few things, and still today is devastated. And here there's evidence and very reliable testimony and word from Shiloh about what happened. I mean, in almost graphic nature. I mean, the whole story is really mind-boggling. And he, even today, maintains that it's all Shiloh's fault. This is a woman who, he shaved her head, almost had like a Svengali hold on. A woman who at one point went into an epileptic seizure. Instead of taking her to the hospital, he puts it on camera and broadcasts it.
Yeah. What
kind of a human being does that?
Is he human? It's insane.
Now, what did you think of the whole story back when it was happening, when he was taking off on Shiloh and blaming them and coaxing them into, coaxing the audience into thinking that, he was the victim in all this?
Yeah. Unfortunately, I totally believed him. As stupid as it was, I thought, no, she's crazy.
You believed Greg during all this back then?
Yeah.
And why do you think that was? Was he convincing?
Yeah. To a certain degree, yeah, I think so. And, it was definitely, even when it came to, his ex-wife, he definitely leveraged his audience to harass. I didn't harass anybody, but, that was definitely a tool of his. It was like, I have this following. I've got to sell them the most convincing story that these people are crazy and I'm not.
And what was it about Sarah's story, looking back now, that bothers you so much?
But how can you take advantage of somebody so young, like to get guardianship of them and then to turn that sexual? There's just so many levels there that it's so messed up. And to think that, I think nearly all of these victims, the vast majority of the victims that we know of, have come from his audience.
When was the last time you actually had a communication with Greg?
A couple of months ago. I think when the streams came out, I messaged him on Twitter, told him he's sick.
You told him. Tell me what you told him, and why did you reach out to
him? So he'd reached out to me sometime in 2019. He had asked me again to be a moderator on his forum, just out of the blue. He had messaged me.
Out of the blue, he contacted you.
Yeah, and he kind of almost as if it was a favor to me. Hey, just letting you know, there's a moderator spot open for you if you ever want it again. No, I don't.
And why do you think he reached out to you? Why do you think he reached out to you?
I have no idea. Like, I don't know what was going on with his forums at the time. I don't know if he just was too lazy to go find someone to be a moderator for him. I have no idea. He just obviously thought maybe I'd say yeah to it.
We've talked to other moderators, Rag, for instance, Regina has talked to us and has been very involved in this investigation. They say the very same thing, that Greg was aware of this grooming, of this predatory behavior, but refused to do anything about what was going on in the forums.
Yeah, he didn't care. He didn't care about anything there. I remember there was an incident, I don't know what year it happened, but it was before, he had a contact section on his forum. So he would use this as like a subject matter for his videos, where he was saying, come ask me a question here and I'll reply to it in a video. And what actually led to that was somebody had private messaged him on the forum about something, I don't know what, but whoever it was came back saying that maybe he had said something inappropriate or something had gone down anyway in this private chat, and he had said, no more can people private message me. And so he opened up the contact section on the forum, and that was Like, that was all he cared about, was that there was people coming there to ask him questions. He didn't care how the site was ran, you know, who was on it. That was all.
What do you think makes him tick? What do you think drives him? What's his motivation?
I don't know. I really don't know. You know, he's completely selfish. You know, he just wants whatever it is to satisfy himself at whatever cost.
Now, we talk about the forums, and you were there and you saw this, and you know, the forums are vastly unregulated, and you can certainly make the argument that it was his forum and he had some responsibility to, you know, maintain a safe environment for his fans who he knew were, you know, in many cases underage, female, potentially vulnerable. But what do you think about YouTube's responsibility here? He continues to stream. He continues to harass his accusers. He continues to engage in bizarre, arguably inappropriate harassment. What is, in your opinion, you hung out in this world for a little bit. What do you think YouTube's responsibilities are?
They have no defense for not removing him off the website. You know, there is no good reason. If somehow later on down the line it turned out all of this was fake, you know, they could send him an apology, reinstate his channels. Why not? You need to play it safe. You need to play it safe. Get rid of him.
What does it say that Patreon deplatformed him, but YouTube will not?
I don't know. And I don't even like that Patreon used the excuse of him doxing someone. It's, you know, be real. He's a predator. You got rid of him because he's a predator. But at least they did get rid of him, you know. And I just can't understand why YouTube won't.
Did he ever come after you, attack you in any way, criticize you because you got out of there?
He definitely, after I kind of just left the forum, you know, it fizzled away or whatever, so I gave up my moderator position. He got into trouble a few years ago because he did a video in blackface, and people, you know, understandably and rightly so, told him that he's racist. He needs, you know, it's not for comedic effect. Don't do it. And I remember he was on Twitter defending himself because, as we know, Greg is always right no matter what. And I had replied to one of his tweets telling him, you know, it's not right, it's racist. And I remember he like retweeted me, quote retweeted me, and told everyone like I'm a complete idiot. And I'm like, I ran your forum for 6 years, like for free, did all the hard work, and this is how it is. You know, you're just gonna call me an idiot. And he blocked me as well.
What do you say to anybody out there who has been harmed by Greg, but who has thus far been anxious about coming forward and telling their story publicly?
First of all, I'm really sorry to anybody that has had to experience Greg in any form. But also, you know, there's a huge amount of support for anybody who was nervous. Like, you know, I was nervous and I'm not even a victim, you know, I'm just a bystander to his bullshit. But there's been so much support for me, even just coming onto this to talk about my experience. So, you know, if there's anybody out there who has something to say and they're just a little bit nervous, you know, there is support out here.
The feeling out there is that, you know, he is in some ways, according to victims and the stories you hear, he's the Epstein of YouTube, Jeffrey Epstein of YouTube. Is that far off? Is that an exaggeration?
No way. I would say that's right on the money. You know, like this will go down. This will be in the history of YouTube. He's going to be one of those notable figures for all the wrong reasons.
And yet they seem to, if not outright defend him, they certainly aren't willing to take any action against him. They won't even, the YouTube people won't even publicly answer my questions.
it's
I mean,
completely.
I cannot think of a more fair forum for them to come on. Now, Susan Wojcicki will go on with some, lighthearted creator and answer some silly questions, but
Right.
they don't seem to care enough to come on this program and talk about it
I don't understand
on
it.
their own platform. What better
Yeah.
format?
It's inexcusable. Honestly, it's inexcusable.
Do you still watch any of Onision's videos, Greg's videos?
No, I can't stand him. So no, and I wouldn't give him the click. I wouldn't give him the view at all. If there's some lovely people out there who are mirroring his videos, so you're not contributing to him getting money. If there's something that has caused, more of an uproar than there already is, I might click in to see what other bullshit he's pulled. But in general, no. I hate to see his face, to be honest.
He's still posting.
Sorry?
He's still posting on YouTube.
He's still posting, yeah.
He posted today.
Yeah.
A bizarre tale about, all kinds of things dating back to his childhood, which, I just don't know whether he's in some twisted way seeking sympathy. But some of the stuff doesn't even make sense now. It's like, I don't know whether he wants people to think he's unraveling but it's all about making himself the victim.
Oh, yeah. He's a master manipulator. Yeah. He wants people to think either to feel sorry for him or that he's completely crazy and doesn't know what he's doing. But he does.
Is he a narcissist? Is he a narcissist?
Oh, yeah. Completely. I would say so. And he's so... Over the years that I've had to interact with him while running his forums, if there was any issues that occurred there, I would have to go to him because he was the owner. I didn't have full control of the forum. And it was so frustrating emailing him because you always felt like you were walking on eggshells with him. Like you didn't know what would set him off. Something could piss him off. Or half the time he'd ignore anything after the first sentence. He just didn't care. And I think one of my favorite examples of him being a complete robot was his first book that he wrote. I ashamedly helped him, or I pointed out a couple of mistakes in the editing in the book because sadly I've read it. And he was like, oh, I really appreciate that you have helped me, you spotted those. I'm going to actually name you in the thanks on the book. And I was thinking, okay, right. And the book comes out and he wrote on it, thanks to Erica for pointing out 2 spelling mistakes. Like, have you ever seen such a robotic thank you in any book ever?
Well,
He's
so
just not human.
It comes off as dismissive.
Yeah, it was embarrassing. I was thinking, oh, Jesus, I'd rather you say nothing. But obviously now I would have rather you say nothing. But yeah, it almost seemed dismissive.
Do you ever wonder how somebody like this becomes a celebrity in such a wide-ranging, far-reaching form?
It's so crazy, and oftentimes I'm questioning myself, like, how did you ever find this person intelligent in any way or worthy of watching, or even, why would you even want to talk to this person?
And now you have a child of your own, a 7-year-old son. Your perspective has changed a little bit on this entire thing.
Yeah. I don't know, it's scary to think that there will be a time where he's going to want to use, a forum or YouTube or Twitter or something, because he is going to idolize somebody at some point. And I have no idea, how do you even protect someone?
And we don't even know the extent of the potential damage this one man has caused. What do you say to other parents who have children who are getting to the age of watching any number of streamers on YouTube who are every bit as much of a celebrity as anybody on television or anywhere else, movies?
You have to pay attention. You have to know. you need to know what they're doing, because it can happen as easy. I mean, look at the stories we've heard so far. It's so easy.
If you could say anything to Greg tonight now, if Greg is watching, what would you say?
Just get help, or just, lock yourself away where you don't interact with anybody ever.
Did you ever have any dealings with Kai?
Sorry?
Did you ever have any dealings with Kai?
No, honestly, by the time that Kai came around, there had been so many breakups and new relationships, because, I've been around since Sky.
Right.
So I've seen
his first wife.
Sorry?
Sky, his first wife.
Yeah, his first wife. So, saw him drag her through the mud when they divorced and go on about alimony for years. Then, saw what happened with Shiloh, and then, I don't know who doesn't want to be named. So, the various other women that came, and it just gets to the point where you're like, I'm not interested, because so much of it seemed, on a whim, and it would just be another drama story. So I never paid attention to Kai, but also I didn't really care about Greg. I wasn't really a fan of him at that point. I was just on his forums.
Do you remember the moment when you decided that you just couldn't be a part of this any longer?
Like I said, there was a lot of us on the forum. We didn't even like Greg, even though we used his website. It was just a matter of finally growing out of it, and I guess just life changing as well. I had my own kids, so priorities changed, like you said. But I did make some lifelong friends from the forum, like actual normal people, not any of the others that were there. But it just, it was controversy after controversy with Greg, and it's just boring.
Do you think it's the ego part of this? Do you think it's the sexual predator part of this? Do you think it's the money? What drives him?
I think definitely the money. I don't think he'd be capable of holding down any kind of normal job. He's not a people person. Could you imagine being his boss in some sort of job? It's not possible. But also, of course, his ego. I mean, he's a narcissist, manipulator. This is the perfect avenue, and it's why you see it all the time. People who can garner audiences, they're going to take advantage of that.
What do you think should happen to Gregory Jackson, aka Onision?
Going by everything I've heard so far, he needs to be in jail or rotting somewhere.
And do you think we've even scratched the surface of the carnage he's caused?
No, because he's been around for so long, years. And, I'm shocked that even just in the recent time, the amount of victims that we've heard from. I mean, how many are out there that we haven't heard anything or don't even know their names?
And the damage from the forums, maybe not directly caused by his actions, but perhaps by his inaction.
Yeah, definitely.
And allowing this activity to happen. I mean, we hear some harrowing stories about the activity on the forums.
Yeah, like we heard Regina's story, and I do vaguely remember that happening, but like I didn't even know about Ryan's story, Rag Reynolds, which is crazy because he's somebody I would have been and still am friends with, but he would have been someone I'd have contact outside of the forums with. And
Ryan Rag, as he's known, he came on this very show and told a similar story as to what you're telling me tonight.
And I didn't even know about his own personal story until he came on your show. So, there's a lot more devastation, I think, from those forums than I've ever realized.
We'll be back in a few moments, so just stay tuned.
I'm Mike Morse. I've been winning in the courtroom for over 30 years, and I'm going to share with you the bad, the good, and the ugly. So you never know where this is going to go.
It's cocktail time somewhere. Really? I would have done just like
I won't charge him with 12 felonies.
These cops pulled a gun on him and said, "Sir, put your hands up." 1 second, it could be over.
Coaching Joaquin Phoenix how to talk and walk like a doc.
Considered a full battery.
Oh, hello. Oh.
The truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth. That's what you're going to hear on my new podcast, Open Mic.
All right. Well, I want to thank Erica for joining us tonight. We had a little bit of a technical issue here, but we got through it, and some very important things. Joining me now is Mike Morse.
Hey, thanks for having me.
Our legal consultant here on Have a Seat with Chris Hansen, and I had the pleasure of being on Mike's podcast recently. He's a lawyer based out of Detroit, and he's been helping us with a couple things, one of which you may or may not know if you're following us, that we obviously have reached out to Onision to actually come on the show and answer some questions. Greg got back to us and said he'd do it for $350,000, and there were a litany of threats, and he was harassing my web producer, and Mike stepped in, and you actually wrote him a letter. You never heard back, did you?
No, I mean, you asked me to get involved,
right.
And I thought, listen, a lawyer can get involved and try to make an interview happen without money. I sent an email to him and to his managers, and this is about 3 weeks ago, and they did not respond. So the opportunity is still there, but they're ignoring me right now.
Well, I appreciate you being on the show, and Mike's going to be appearing more often here to help us out with different issues and to kind of consult with his legal expertise. Let's talk about, for a few minutes, this case, and specifically, you've dug pretty deep into it. I mean, we know the criminal aspect of it, and we've talked about this. The FBI is investigating. There are other potential criminal investigations. But from a civil standpoint, you see all these cases being filed against people like Weinstein and Epstein and other cases. Do the young alleged victims here have a civil case, in your opinion?
So, depending on the evidence, and I've been watching your videos and I've been watching the girls, it certainly seems like there might be some civil conspiracy issues, civil conspiracy between Kai and Onision. There's probably some civil assault charges that possibly could be brought. Intentional infliction of emotional distress has 4 elements. 1, the defendant must act intentionally or recklessly, which it sure sounds like we have. The second element is the defendant must be extreme and outrageous. I've never seen somebody more extreme and outrageous than this guy. It must be the cause of the injuries, the acts, and the person must suffer severe emotional distress. And so you have to prove damages,
right,
which is key. And of course, in any civil case, the defendant, this case, Greg Jackson and Kai, have to be collectible. That means that they have to have money to pay the damages. So, that's always a consideration. How much time, energy are you going to spend on a case? And if you get a big judgment, a verdict, will they be able to pay? So that's something that you have to think about.
And this is a case where clearly Greg Jackson has made a substantial amount of money, but we don't know precisely how much. We don't know where that is, if he retained any of it. If you watch his YouTube videos, his streams, would argue that he's on the run, destitute, and a victim of a mass conspiracy.
Because you got me involved about a month ago, and I find this very fascinating, and if all these things are true, I would like to see him off the air, potentially behind bars if these are true allegations. And a civil case absolutely could follow if we could prove that they have money worth going after. But I don't know, I can't tell if he's telling the truth. I can't tell if this is all an act. I can't tell if he's setting himself up for an insanity defense at a potential criminal case that you've been talking about, the FBI and other criminal charges. Could he be setting himself up? All these videos one day could be evidence in a criminal trial that he's insane or he has psychiatric episodes. So, but and on the one half of the video, he's asking for privacy, he's asking for compassion, he's asking for things, and then he's working out in his underwear and doing crazy things. So I really don't know what to believe, and it's awfully confusing.
What about the liability and responsibility of YouTube here. You know, we've discussed this before. Gregory Jackson was on Patreon and removed, which is arguably a more, I don't know, lenient, darker space, where YouTube is something that is watched by kids to adults and has a lot of exposure. Does YouTube have a responsibility, without stepping over somebody's First Amendment rights, to step in and say, this is harmful, this is wrong, this is harassment? Because we have seen videos where he harasses his alleged victims.
Well, they have moderating video. I mean, they have moderating rules. But I read an article today that no one's happy with YouTube's content moderation. They're not doing a great job at it. They do take down certain channels. You've shared on your channel that they've gotten mad at you for using certain words, and they won't pay you for certain. I mean, so. And they don't do that to him. I mean, it's a little crazy. Right. So the answer is, they should answer. They should come on the show. We will reach out to them to try to get them to take a seat with you and answer some questions. Should this guy be on here? Should he be? I mean, this is the channel, it appears, as well as these other forums, that he's getting the girls, that he's grooming. And so and I have been talking to some of the victims, and they are calling me, and we are having discussions. But if you could prove a causal connection between YouTube and the damages and the injuries, there may be a civil case there. And I think they're making a mistake by not taking him down.
Mike, let's talk for a minute, and we're having just a little bit of a technical issue here, and I should tell folks that we're kind of on assignment on a different topic tonight, so we're checking in from the field, different spot than we usually are. But your podcast, Open Mic, tell me about that for a minute. And again, I appeared on Mike's podcast, and some of you people out there saw it, and I appreciate that very much. But what is it that you're trying to achieve with what you've got going on?
So, we started about 8 weeks ago. We're trying to first of all, we were just trying to have some fun and inform the public about legal issues, bring on some interesting guests. It's morphed into having lots of different police officers on. We just had the chief sheriff in Detroit talking about whether or not he thought Epstein could have killed himself or not, because he runs all the jails, and that was an interesting discussion. We've had Ira Todd on, who's on a show on Starz talking about wrongful convictions. We had a world-renowned cardiologist on, and we've had you on, which was our highest-rated show. It's at YouTube/Mike Morse Law Firm. And now that I'm helping you, I'm very interested in putting these type of people away, or helping get legal justice for victims. And I think that we're going to spend a lot of time on that. I think that we're going to start putting some, with our collaboration, some of this content on our channel, and helping you with your investigations, contacting people.
Which we appreciate a great deal, yeah.
Representing people who've been wronged by some of these people, helping with YouTube, helping make YouTube accountable to these victims, having them, make them come on the show and have a conversation. Why aren't you taking them on? Why don't they just answer the question?
It's very straightforward.
It's a straightforward question. Why won't they engage in that conversation? I don't know why. So we will be reaching out to them. If I hear from them, if I hear back from Onision after this interview, I will be posting it exclusively on Mike Morse Law Firm YouTube channel. So please subscribe for exclusive content on this topic. But that's what we're trying to do. The channel, it's finding its way, but this is definitely interesting information and different interesting topics to talk about.
Excellent. Mike Morse, thank you for being with us tonight. I appreciate it very much. And to you, thanks for putting up with a little bit of a erratic stream this evening. And we will be back next week with more on this continuing investigation on Have a Seat with Chris Hansen next Wednesday at 8 Eastern. Thanks very much, and have a good night. We'll see you then.